Hey Scrappers, it's Vanessa here with my next monthly celebrations layout for the blog hop I'm participating in every month for this year. And for my monthly celebration this month, I decided to scrap a few pictures that I put together in a collage of our celebrations from the Super Bowl. Every year we either go somewhere or have people over, or sometimes it's just us as family. But we usually are doing something, cooking something and eating lots of food and watching the Super Bowl on Super Bowl Sunday. So that is what I am scrapping for this layout. So I showed you everything there at the beginning that I was going to use for this layout. I will post or add to the description for this video the kit that I put together that I pulled all these papers from. It's the same kit that I'm using for my Crafty Maven design team videos for this month as well. So I will have that linked in the description box if you want to see what was in the original kit. But I basically went through that kit and pulled the pieces that I wanted for this layout. And so after showing you all the bits and pieces that I pulled, I did go ahead and type my journaling up on this layout. Now, when I was going through the papers for this layout, I did know that the paper that had all the numbers, I knew for sure that I wanted to use that paper, and I had an idea of sort of clustering all those numbers around the photo. And that was kind of my starting off point, was that paper that had all the numbers on it. So apart from that, I'm kind of just playing. I had some washi that I put on white paper and cut into strips that I thought I might layer up underneath my photo as well. And you'll see how that goes as this layout progresses. So once I had that idea in my mind and I matted my photo, I am going to go ahead here and lay out all of those numbers. Kind of like I was saying, I'm basically going to cluster all of these different numbers, and I'm kind of just trying to balance the patterns and colors around the photo. So there's no real rhyme or reason. I'm not trying to specifically have this number here or that number here. I'm really just going more by pattern and trying to make sure that there's a good balance, and I want to make it so that the top and bottom kind of come to a point. So the 1 and the 6 at the top are kind of creating a point at the top and a point at the bottom. I kind of just liked that design element where the focal point was the photo in the middle and then the numbers coming out from around it. And to me, when I think Super Bowl, I think numbers and stats and scores and touchdowns and things like that. So I thought numbers on a Super Bowl layout would be a perfect complement for scrapping about football. And so here you see I've gotten all of the numbers sort of laid out the way I like, and I know where my photo is going to go. So because I want to make sure nothing moves, I am taking my glue that I have there in my bottle, and that is art glitter glue. And I'm just putting a little bit of glue on each of the numbers so that they stay tacked down and in place. Now I'm doing that because what I'm going to do is off camera, I am going to actually sew down straight lines down through all the numbers on this layout. And I unfortunately can't move my camera and equipment to film the actual sewing process, but I'm going to sew it off camera, and then you will see when I come back on camera all of this. I'll be able to show you all the sewing. But essentially I wanted to add that additional texture and interest to the page. So here you see I've gone ahead and I've made those lines with my sewing machines, and I just used a navy thread. And while I was doing it, I did decide that that top left needed some embellishing, and so I did go ahead and put a number there, and I went ahead and sewed that as well, just because I knew that eventually I was going to have a cluster there on the layout, and so I wanted to do that sewing while I had everything set for the other parts of the layout. So after that, I did decide that it was time to put my title down, and I needed to be able to sort of play around with how far my title needed to go over. And my title is not super creative for this one. It's definitely exactly what the pictures show, and that is basically food and football, which for us, it's definitely a celebration. It's definitely, fun and family and laughing and just hanging out and having a good time. So food and football, I thought, is a simple but perfect title for this one. And so that you see is my title, and I do glue that down off camera because all of those letters are chipboard, and of course they do not stick at all. So now that I have my title down and you see I've started my cluster up there at the top, I am going to sort of play with those washi strips, and I knew I wanted to sort of layer them up, and you'll see I kind of fuss around with them and play with them a little bit, but essentially they will land there underneath the photo, as well as I will put each of those, once I cut off the ends of those washi strips, I will put those 3 same patterns up in that top cluster just to kind of pull the 2 clusters or the layout from the bottom to the top, just to carry the same embellishing among the 2. So here I'm just showing you that as a finishing touch for my embellishing on this. I kept it pretty simple because of those numbers and those being like the biggest element and taking up, I wanted those to really stand out on the layout. I decided I wasn't going to do a huge amount of embellishing, but I did decide that I had these stars from Studio Calico that you can paint and change the color. So you saw there I showed 3 of my shimmers that I decided to go ahead and change these white stars and put some color to match the pink and the turquoisey green and the pink that I'm using in the papers on this layout. And so you just see me here, I am just painting up those stars. Now I will tell you off camera at the end, before I took these still photos, I did decide to repaint those dark blue stars. I did make those darker navy, just because once they dried, those navy blue stars that you see there weren't quite dark enough, and so I used some Heidi Swapp navy to just make them a little bit darker for the final pictures that you'll see at the end. I went ahead and did 3 of each of the colors. So there's 3 pink, 3 blue, and 3 turquoise. While I was doing that pink, I did decide that it just wasn't the right color pink. And so then I tried this Lindy Stamp Gang color. But again, on camera, it looks like it's matching, but in actual reality, it's really not the right pink again. So what I ended up doing was going and finding my Cotton Candy shimmers, and that is a very light pink, and so it actually picks up the light pink that are in some of the numbers on this page, and so I actually end up doing the 3 stars in that lighter pink, and I actually like how that turned out in the end. So now I have those all sort of painted up, and I decided to just add a little bit of splatter in the background of the layout with these 3 colors. Now, I will tell you, it's hard to see. You can see it more in person and maybe a little bit in the still photos. These splatters are not heavy, and so they don't show up really well, but they just add that little extra bit of texture and interest around the page. So you'll see in the still photos, you'll get maybe a small glimpse of them, but they don't stand out very much. So here I'm just finishing up with those splatters, and then I am going to go ahead and put those stars in each of my clusters. I end up doing 1 cluster to the top right of the photo, another cluster there at the top left where you see the camera already, and then the 3rd cluster I actually put to the side of the journaling down at the bottom left of the layout. So I get that visual triangle that I usually like to have on my layouts, and I felt like that bottom left just needed something. I felt like where the journaling was, it had sort of some open space, and I felt like I needed to put something there just to sort of pull everything together for this layout. And once I had that, I did decide that a finishing touch I wanted to do on this layout was just to add a few sequins. So I'm just going to scatter a few sequins here in each of the clusters, and I will call that good for this layout. There will be still photos at the end of the video, so be sure to stay tuned for those. And please make sure that you go and hop through all the ladies' videos and see everybody's monthly celebration for February. I haven't got a chance to see all the videos myself, but I know that the ladies have been doing beautiful layouts, and so I can't wait to go watch them. So be sure to hop along and be sure to subscribe to everyone's channel so that you don't miss our monthly celebrations. And guys, I will catch you on the next one. So like I said, be sure to wait for the still photos at the end, and I will catch you on the next video. Have a great day, everybody. Bye-bye.